Get down with you.
Let's start with you, Sabine, right?
Yes.
Okay, Sabine. DJ Sabine. Now, where did you come with that name? The actual name is Sabine Blaizin.
Yes.
Yeah, DJ Sabine Blaizin. Okay, now tell me something about Miss Blaizin.
Yeah, so it's funny because people thought that was a DJ name that I made up, but it's actually my real name. It's a Haitian name, so it's French derivative. And the sound that I like to play, I would say, it's global soul, but it definitely has its roots deep in Africa. I like to infuse some Haitian roots and just diasporic sounds.
Okay, now Nadia Ishe, where did you get that name from?
Well, actually, my middle name is Nadia, and the Eshe is an African dialect, which means life. So I kind of put those together because to me, music is life.
Now your music style, I've heard you play too. Excellent, fire. Tell me.
I just have a lot of energy. I'm really enthused about music, so that's the message I usually want to give to the crowd when I play. There is a gentle side to me as well. I don't get to play it as much as I would like to because the hours that I usually play is prime time, so I have to, immediately just slam the crowd, which I love doing. It also relates to, how I am as a lover. I would be that way in bed, very intense. So I like to relate that in my set.
Montana, spiritual sound, like your sound. Very spiritual, very growing. You're not born and raised, bred in New York City. Where are you born and raised and bred at?
New Orleans.
New Orleans. Now, how did that sound, the house music sound, cross over down there to up here?
From New Orleans to here, you start off with music and like old stuff like Percolator, and then coming up to New York, it's more like the African chants, the Orisha's chanting, more, you have that Latin sounds, the drums. So it's a big transition spiritually for me, coming from New Orleans.
How did you get from New Orleans to New Orleans up here to New York, and also get into the house scene?
First, I moved from New Orleans to Baltimore. Stayed in Baltimore 4 years. Worked in Baltimore, then transferred up to New York. Lived in the Bronx. Started doing parties in Brooklyn. Was doing another party, which was a Bedford Hills joint. I was co-founder of that, and then from there I branched off into Spirits in Motion.
Sabine Blaizin. Real quick question. What got you onto the house scene? What certified you to be considered a hot DJ?
Oh wow, great question. I was always avid house lover. Definitely before the DJing was dancing and going to various clubs. Started in 97, 98 when I was in college, and I discovered the Shelter. At that time, it was on Hubert Street, and I wasn't really too much into hip hop. It was like fusion, like hip house. I was into like the Native Tongues and Tribe Called Quest and Pharcyde. I was a little beat girl during that time, and then someone told me like, yo, there's a spot where breakers go to, and I was Shelter, and then I discovered house music, and it was a wrap since then. Then I discovered Tea Party with Ian Friday in Brooklyn, and I've been frequenting that. So that was more of the soulful house scene. And then from there, I just started collecting records because I liked a lot of the mix CDs I was receiving for various DJs. I used to always go to 667 on Fulton Street as well. And I couldn't find a lot of this music, of course, like in regular record stores. and someone put me on to dance tracks. So I got my first little technique, started buying vinyl, and then I started getting familiar with the producers and some of the tracks that I love to hear. And a friend of mine, Kwame Akbar, who formerly was part of Soul in the Hole in Chicago. He moved to New York and we were just good friends, and I would play records with him, and he's like, oh, I do like these brownstone parties, you should come, you have a really good ear. So I would just open up, and that's how it started. And then we collaborated together and we did a party at the 5 Spot in Brooklyn, and we started Brooklyn Mecca, and then it took off from there.
Is there a different scene for women DJs and male DJs? Is there?
Not really, not now. Maybe before it was harder for us to break in. I think that our voices are loud enough now that we're being taken seriously. There still is resistance, and they still try to put, some DJs that are not opening DJs in the opening set, and a lot of times they do better than the guys, it's like, why'd you put her first? Now you gotta go behind her and you're not even meeting up to that standard. But we are a part of the house scene now. It's not a separate thing like it was before, where we had to do little women parties here and there. We are definitely a part of the house scene now. People know who we are. They know what we can do. We definitely have a following. So it is, we're here now. We're definitely.